How are y'all? Good. First of all, thought our guys played extremely hard. Um, Played with great effort. Did a lot of really good things within the game. Got things obviously we got to clean up. We hurt ourselves with some critical errors, but you know the the amount of effort that they're playing with, how relentless they're running around. Um, really proud of that part of it. Want to thank our fans for coming out for homecoming. Had a great crowd. They were really behind the guys. I thought they did a great job of being involved in the game, so we really appreciate that part of it. Obviously, this week got a really tough opponent. Uh, Georgia Tech's playing really well right now, uh, balanced in what they're doing, playing really sound defensively, giving you a lot of different looks. You look at them offensively. Haynes has been there, seems like forever now, playing extremely well. Recruited him out of high school. Just remember him, known his dad for a long time. So they got a good football team. They're playing well right now. They've had a bye, so obviously they're going to be fresh, and so it'll be a great test for us. But we're looking forward to going on the road and getting up our opportunities to step on the field and go to work.
You talked afterwards about how a lot of the penalties were sort of passion or effort plays. How do you walk that line or teach that line between passion and being smart?
Yeah, it's tough. We only had 6 penalties. Those penalties came at costly times, right? And so, you know, when you're pushing the envelope and these guys are playing with relentless effort, we just got to make smarter decisions in certain situations. And so, we've talked about that. We're addressing it. Obviously, guys have been really receptive. They've played extremely hard, and we've got to continue that part of it. But we just got to be smarter in those situations, especially when we get an opportunity. We got to stop. We can get off the field. Had a couple of those, and then obviously down there in the low red, we're sitting down inside the 1. You can't have that happen. So we'll learn from those things, and we got to continue to grow and improve.
In your review of the film, in looking back at any of those penalties, do you feel differently about them now, and specifically the illegal formation on the special teams one? I don't know how tightly they call that. Did that look like a penalty in your estimation afterwards?
I don't want to get fined, right? So, as you're leading me down this track, that doesn't get called very often, and most of the time it's like, you step up and you kind of move the guys kind of back out of the way, kind of alert them that, hey, you're getting close to that line. So, some of those things, it's part of the game. I'm not saying he made the incorrect call. You just don't see it called that often, and most of the time it's in a situation where, hey, you got to give him a little bit more space. You're talking about 2 or 3 inches here or there, basically. And so if you're not careful, you can get into that as you're trying to get a line. So we'll be smarter about that part and make sure we're in good shape.
Phil, when you are talking about the effort, and how do you reiterate to the guys about slowing down the game and making sure, hey, I'm being relentless, I'm playing with effort, I'm going 100 miles an hour at the ball, but at the same time realizing situation, like letting up on the quarterback when you see the ball released, or not putting your hands on someone when they're going out of bounds? Is there a way that you can teach that?
Yeah, I think, and again, it's all about the presentation of it. The way our guys right now, especially, in all 3 phases, just the way they're competing, the way they're running, the way they are helping each other, and the way we're gang tackling and doing all of those things are absolutely 100% great things. Now you got to make sure that we're being smart in those situations and understanding what the situation is, where you're at, what's happening, what's the flow of the game. And those guys are going to continue to improve in those areas and get better. And our coaches, I think, are doing a good job of trying to correct some of those mistakes that we all make, but you can't make them at those critical times.
The group's faced, once you took over 2 wins, how did you sense the team's response after facing adversity for the first time with you as the leader?
This team's faced a lot of adversity throughout the season, and so I think, they're resilient. Guys were disappointed Sunday coming in because we knew we had an opportunity right there and needed to take advantage of it. But that being said, I thought they bounced back. They did some good things on Sunday as far as what we asked them to do from a workload standpoint. Guys were around for meetings and really attentive and ready to move on to the next one. We got a 24-hour rule about what we're doing, win or lose. And so, like I told them on Sunday, hey, you got the day to kind of be in your feelings about it, but then we got to put it back away and we got to move forward and continue to grow and learn from our mistakes and get better as a football team because we got a tough game this week.
Coach, Georgia Tech is unique offensively with how much they run the quarterback. He's the leading rusher on the team. How do you prepare for that kind of offense?
Yeah, I mean, you try to give it as much of a look as you can give in practice. I think they do a great job. They're so heavy into a lot of different gap schemes and the way they present it, formationally, motion. Haynes handles all of that really well. Plus, to your point, they run him a lot. And so we got to do a good job of getting our eyes in the right spots. You got to play really disciplined, sound football on defense. And then when you get an opportunity to get him down, you got to get them behind the sticks. You got to force them into situations that they're not comfortable in because that's what they kind of live on. They maintain drives. They stay in short yardage type situations. You get down in the red zone, they're always trying to find +1 runs. And so we've got to do a good job of being really, really sound and technical defensively, and then don't let them get out of your reach when it comes from a tackle standpoint.
Terrian looked like he had a wrap on his shoulder, didn't play much, if at all, down the stretch. How's he doing right now, looking at this week?
Yeah, just like always. I mean, we'll learn more today when we get on the practice field with him. I thought he reacted well Sunday and Monday, but you never know until you get back on the field. So right now I feel good about where he's at, but I'll learn more today.
111 yards, passing yards last week. I think it was a season low there. What needs to be done to get more out of the passing game right now?
Well, I think it's probably a factor of all of us, right? We got to do a better job protecting. We got to do a better job delivering the football on time. We got to do a better job from a route standpoint. I got to do a better job schematically of getting guys opportunities. I thought we did a better job in the second half, and we found some explosive plays in there with them. To that point, we're seeing a lot of different looks. If you look at it early in the game, we got several different looks that they hadn't shown on tape at that point. So it's getting back to the sideline, making adjustments, and being able to transition from that standpoint. So I think it's a growing process for us, and we're continuing to learn. But I think those guys are bought in, and they are given really, really strong effort in areas, and we're always trying to improve each and every day, and I think that starts from the coaching staff working our way out.
With your O-line situation, do you just kind of expect everybody to bring the house at this point? I mean, you kind of referenced it in the post-game the other day.
That's the trend right now. So, we've had to shuffle a lot of different guys up front, had to do it again the other night, and trying to find a more manageable consistency to it all. And so we'll see how that plays itself out this week in practice. And, again, we're going to try to get our best 5 guys on the field and give them an opportunity to be successful, and maybe we can help them in some different ways.
Phil, you mentioned you recruited Haynes King when I believe you were at Tulsa. A lot of good prospects come out of Longview, Texas.
Yeah, they've had some good ones. I will say they've had some good quarterbacks. Haynes is probably, I'd venture to say now, I can't go back that far from the history standpoint. He's probably maybe the most prolific quarterback that's come out of there. There's been a lot of good linemen, a lot of good linebackers, running backs. Believe it or not, his dad is a huge run the power lineup and let's see if you can stop it type of guy. Now, he changed a little bit. Haynes gave him the ability to throw it around the yard a little bit more, and but they've always been really good. And you're talking about East Texas right there, tremendous athletes running through, and they've had a good run of them.
Have you stayed in touch with the family since you said you knew his father?
No. Not, I mean, I haven't been back through there and recruiting in a while. My recruitment of Haynes didn't last very long because he blew up pretty quick. So he got a lot of offers, and mine kind of fell kind of over there to the side. So, which is fine. I mean, that's the way recruiting goes. But yeah, always rooted for him. Was very impressed with what he did coming out of high school.
You have one freshman, JoJo Krim, who's reached the 4-game Mark, so far. Have you had talks with him and some of these other freshmen saying, we're probably not going to redshirt you this year because we need you and you guys are playing well?
Well, we got a lot of freshmen playing right now, and obviously those conversations are going on. But that being said, those guys have stepped up, played really big. You look at the amount of freshmen that we are playing right now, and those guys have contributed in a really positive way for us, and we've got to continue that trend. So, from a depth standpoint, they all know where we're at, and those guys are taking advantage of the opportunity to step on the field and really show people what they can do. And they've been a great benefit for us as a football team, and those guys are playing extremely well.
Other questions for Coach?
Do you feel like with the way Noah Chambers is playing that he's going to continue to see more and more snaps there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Noah had 40-something snaps the other day. He's played extremely well. With our depth and everything else, I think it plays into that way. But that being said, every time he steps on the field, he's learning, he's growing, he's playing with a lot of confidence. Is he making some mistakes? Yeah, probably. But that being said, the effort and the attitude that he's playing with and the amount that he's learning right now is far and exceeds any of the other parts of it. So he's played extremely well.
You mentioned after the NC State game sort of his motor, his effort, like full speed ahead all the time. What other parts of his game impress you?
Talking about Noah's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think he's just been a sponge so far. Like, he is growing and learning every day, and you just see him taking great strides in his improvement, just learning how to play the position at this level, right? He's got all the tenacity that you want. He flies around, throws his body around, makes tackles in space. He does all of those things pretty naturally. Now it's, to your point, how do you play within the structure of the defense and still continue to generate the things that make you who you are? And I think that's what he's learning right now.
In the same breath, Sheldon Robinson's played the last 3 games, has played some meaningful snaps at safety. As a true freshman, it seems like safety is one of the tougher spots to play. What have you seen at how he's been able to pick it up and be able to play some significant snaps, especially in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think he kind of falls into that same line with Noah. I mean, he's learning each and every time he steps on the field. He has played a lot of significant snaps for us and will continue to do that. And it has played extremely well. And so when you get back there in the back end, you got to be a little bit more careful. You can get exposed a little bit more, but he's been really disciplined. He's had his eyes in the right spot. He's come downhill and made really good tackles, done a good job into coverage. So he's growing each and every day.
You mentioned Saturday, Tomas Remax started at 4 of the 5 offensive line spots.
Mm-hmm.
You ever had an offensive lineman do that in one season, much less half a season? And what has his versatility meant to your group through 6 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you can't put a number on what he's done, and just the unselfishness. You're thinking about an older guy that's played a lot of games, and to be able to move around and do the things that we're asking him to do and never question it. He wants to do what's best for the team. However I can help. He's been a great leader for us. Tomas is not a guy that does a lot of talking on the side. He just comes to work every day, puts his hard hat on, punches the clock, and gets back after it. So I've got a lot of tremendous respect for him and what he's done. As far as your first part of that question, I don't know that I've ever had anybody, especially at this point in the season, play as many different spots throughout as Tomas has. So he's pretty rare in that spot.
Going off of that, every time we ask these linemen, is it easy to switch spots? They always kind of, it's no big deal. You just kind of flip over and you change your mindset of where you're playing. Are they underselling how difficult it is to play?
Yes, they are underselling it. I mean,
How hard is it?
they're saying it with confidence, but yes, they're underselling it. It's not as easy. You got to think about all the different verbiages and how things move. And on this side, it means I do this. On this side, it may mean the opposite of that. And then just in your stance and the way you set and, when you're working inside footwork, outside footwork, hand placement, what hand shooting, all of those things, it's much more difficult to do than what they're saying. So, I give them credit for saying, it's no big deal. But if we're being real honest, they've adjusted well. We've asked them to do that. We try to do a lot of that in the spring, just moving guys around with the mindset of just trying to make sure that you can build depth. And the spring's a good time to kind of, exercise some of that. But for Tomas, he's done unbelievable at being able to move around and be that guy. But it's not as easy as they make it sound.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good week.
All right, guys, questions for Tomas? Dan?
Well, you've added another position to your belt this week. What was it like at right guard this week?
Yeah, I mean, well, playing 4 positions during the season, something I didn't expect, but, just getting those reps in practice and just when I found out, just put your head down and do the best job that I can.
I don't know if you heard Coach talking about it. We asked him how difficult it was to do that. And he said it's very difficult. Is it very difficult to switch spots so often like that?
It's not an easy thing to do, but with repetitions throughout spring ball, through during the season right now, during Tuesday, Wednesday practices, it's just something you have to prepare yourself for and understand I could play right or left side, and just when it comes to it, you just have to put your best foot forward and do your job.
David?
Tomas, have you reached out to any of your former teammates at West Virginia who played these spots and asked for any advice, especially some of the guys who are now playing in the league?
Yeah, I talked to some of the guys that are gone now, but like Wyatt, Yates, Jaquay, all guys that were at West Virginia, they're not there anymore. But I just checked in on them, but not about different positions, just to see how they're doing. And then with Wyatt, he's in the league now. I just don't want to really bother him with what he's got going on. So
During the spring, was it important for you to learn, especially the footwork, technique, and everything about playing these different positions? So when you're making changes in season, you're not spending practice maybe tripping over your feet, trying to figure out, all right, how do I do this? How do I work with my hands and all this stuff at different spots on the line?
yeah, it's very important, but the fundamentals, it's the same thing. You just have to either go left or right. But for me personally, I think it's more of a mental thing. Like going to the game personally, I like to visualize like what position I'm at and like what I'm going to do, what defense they're going to show us, and go throughout the play that way. So personally, it's just a mental thing, and just like slowing it down, understanding like this is where you are now, this is the steps you have to take, and then go from there.
I believe the offensive line mentality has always been next man up for you guys. What have you seen in some of these other guys stepping up and playing significant roles here throughout the first half of the season with, injury here, injury there, and just the constant shuffling that Coach Morris had to do?
It's really cool to see because these guys are young, they're redshirt freshmen, and just seeing how they come in every day and just working. We're always in the film room together, getting extra film after, and they just really want to put their best foot forward, and they're working their tail off week in and week out.
Other questions for Tomas? Ann?
Do you guys sense with all the shuffling and stuff you have going on with the offensive line that teams are cranking up the pressure against you guys? Do you feel that when you're out there?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely feel it, and like when we're preparing for a team, we definitely know that they're going to bring pressure because they might have gotten to the quarterback on a couple of those pressures, so we know we're going to expect it. But that just goes into us as an offensive line. We need to be more consistent, and that's something we've been working on, and that's something we have to continue to work on throughout the week.
How's the team mood coming off of last week where, you were in it, but there were a lot of penalties that maybe contributed to that loss?
Yeah, Coach said to us on Sunday, you have 24 hours to get through this loss. And same way with the win. You never want to dwell too much on a win or a loss, but on Sunday it's all about, coming in, watching the film, learning from your mistakes. And like you said, with the penalties, we just can't hurt ourselves. Like I had that holding penalty at the start of that drive that put us behind the chains, and it's just something that can't happen. It's something you got to learn from.
When you do go through corrections on those, do you view those as effort plays, like you're pushing too hard, and where do you find the balance of the effort and making sure you're not getting into that area where an official can throw a penalty flag on you?
Effort, when you're watching film, effort should never change. You should always be going your hardest, but just with that, you have to maintain your fundamentals. And that's what a lot of times happens. Say you make a bad play, you might have stepped the wrong way, maybe too long of a step, too short of a step. At the end of the day, you just have to play with effort, but within yourself and within your fundamentals.
When you've watched film of Georgia Tech's defense, what have you noticed in terms of how they bring pressure and things that you might see them do Saturday to try to get to Kyron?
Yeah, I mean, a great team, obviously ranked, but they're going to show us pressures that we've seen before. And like I said earlier, it's just all about consistency. We just have to put our heads down and work this week on those pressures that we've seen during film. And obviously, they can bring something that we haven't seen before and make those corrections on game day.
Anything else for Tomas? Thanks, Tomas.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take some questions for T. Will. Andy?
Thomas, what's sort of the mood of the locker room after a game that was pretty tight, that, maybe some penalties decided the outcome?
I'd say the mood of the locker room is pretty much back to square one. I mean, back to film, back to see, like, where can we get better at, about the mistakes, how can we fix them. And started today, bring the energy at practice. I mean, first week of practice after film, I mean, you got to set the tone for the next week of the game. So that's pretty much where the locker room.
David?
Coach said it was a lot of effort plays that led to some of the penalties. It was just a lot of effort. And how do you find the balance between effort and making sure you don't push the line to get penalized, that especially on third down when you have a chance to force a punt and get the ball back to the offense?
I mean, a lot of the effort comes from the way, like, the coaches set the tone. I mean, guys trying to make plays, trying to change the momentum of the game, and it just a little too much happened, Sometimes guys just got to understand it's a time and place, and that comes with watching film and understanding.
As a player, is there a way, as you're processing something that's going live speed in a game, of recognizing situational and saying, okay, I need to let up here before I hit someone, or things like that, that you can process at the blink of an eye to make sure you're not getting into that gray area of where, it could be one way or another in terms of whether a penalty is called?
Sometimes it's you kind of in the moment, and the moment kind of get away from you. But then that goes back to what I'm saying is, it's a different part of the game. You got to elevate. And that happened to me before, ODU game. I got hands to the face on a third down where IBM had got a PBU, and situations like that can't happen. And for me to elevate my game, I had to understand, like, that cannot happen in situations like that.
Andy?
If I remember right, you were maybe more of a running back in high school than a defensive guy. How is that transition to becoming a cornerback? Do you have the full cornerback mentality now? What has that process been like for you?
So the bowl game was actually my first real game as a full corner. Freshman year, coming in here, I dealt with injury, so I didn't really get the reps I wanted at corner. After the injury, I started coming back. Last year, I was able to get some reps, and Coach Jones been doing pretty good about helping me grow at the position. Last year, I sat behind Dorian. I learned a lot from him. Mansour, I learned a lot from him. And I guess this year, I talked to Cheetah. He told me my first game is going to be worse than the last game I played. And that's just come from me understanding the game of corner. And as I go back to, like, look at it, South Carolina game, my grades was worse than last week. And as the week goes, like, I keep getting better and better and better. And that comes from being able to elevate and understanding the corner and understanding route concepts and understanding receiver releases and understanding the defense in general. And that's been a good experience for me.
What were your biggest takeaways from watching Mansour and Dorian?
Dorian, I like his mentality. He kind of like Coach Cheetah reminded us that he didn't give up many touchdowns or explosive plays when he was here, and a lot of that was in man coverage. And in order to play man, you had to have a different mentality. And Coach Jones say that all the time, and that's what I kind of learned from Dorian. And during my official visit here, he was my host, so he kind of set the tone for me of how I want to be a corner. And Mansour, he just a ball hawk, and that's kind of the mentality you gotta have at corner too. You gotta want to make plays. Like you can't be a prey. Like you gotta make plays. Like there's no in between. And corner, like you gotta have that mentality to do it.
Georgia Tech, more of a run-heavy team. What have you seen from them on film, and how are you guys preparing to stop that?
We've seen, receiver standpoint, we've seen like they like a lot of screens. They like to get the ball in space because they got fast guys. They got quarterback that can run, so screens will make the secondary tackle in space. And that's kind of what teams been attacking us the past couple weeks at. And that's kind of what we're expecting them to come in and do, and also run the ball. Like how you said, they a good run-heavy team. They got a good running back. Quarterback's good, like I said. But we'll see.
Over the last 3 weeks, your rush defense is improved by leaps and bounds. How crucial will run defense be against not only Haynes Kings, but Jamal Haynes and the rest of that group?
Like I said earlier, we just come in and attack the week the same we did every week. And every week the run been on our mind for every team. North Carolina, we had to stop the run. That was our biggest thing. They had a good explosive running back. That's what we wanted to do. Wake Forest had a great running back, and we wanted to stop the run. And they had a quarterback that can run too. And that's kind of been our memo is we got to be aggressive. Like it's no in between. Like we got to be aggressive to the run, and we got to stop the run, and we got to stop the explosive plays in the secondary.
You mentioned about playing cornerback, and kind of the trait you learned from Mansour is not afraid to make a play. When you were running back, I believe you probably had the same mentality as whenever they put the ball in your belly, you want to make a play. Is it different between the two positions of having that mentality of transitioning from being a running back where you know I get a chance to make a play, and you go now to cornerback and you tell yourself same mentality, just go make a play?
I'd say for me at running back, I just knew when I was getting the ball, and I knew I was going to make a play with it. At corner, you kind of don't know when the ball is going to come your way. Usually the ball will come your way when you're not doing your job. And most of the time, if you're doing your job, the ball hardly comes your way. And when they do, it be missed opportunities. Like the quarterback might have missed something, and it just happened to come your way. But that's why I would say corner, you kind of got to be on your toes all the time to be able to make a play.
That's good.